So before we speak to our guest today, I want to let you know that the foundation has set up a COVID relief fund in order to support thousands of union performers who are going through tough times. This year, thanks to your donations, the foundation has given over $6.5 million in emergency aid to more than 7,000 performers and their families. If you are a SAG-AFTRA member and need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. So thank you so much for your support. Casting Society of America is hosting the 36th Artios Awards, which will take place in its first ever virtual ceremony on April 15th, 2021. The three honorees for the 2021 event include the Actors Fund, who will be receiving the Rosalie Joseph Humanitarian Award. And I'm proud to join Tara Rubin in receiving the Hoyt Bowers Award, the first time two casting directors will be honored for this award. Tickets for the Artios Award are available and can be purchased at tiny.cc/Artios36. So thank you. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce some of this year's Artios Awards nominees. A.B. Kaufman, Tracy Kilpatrick, Lucie Robitaille, Christi Schamberger, Louise Kiely, and Christi Soper-HIlt. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, A.B., I'm going to start with you. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and The Assistant. Congrats. August Wilson's plays, The Pittsburgh Cycle, are so well known. Had you seen Ma Rainey before, and did you have any preconceived notions about the casting which you had to let go of?
I did see it, and I felt that it was a true honor to work on it. Preconceived, no. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be quick with my answers. I'm sorry. No. I mean, George is such a phenomenon that how lucky are we to be able to listen and learn from others and with what we're able to create. So just knew we had to nail it. Mm-hmm. No preconceived.
Well, brilliant, brilliant work. And I love George. He's a phenomenon and just like a burst of energy. Constantly. Well, what were some of your conversations with George like, and before you started working with him on it?
Well, he knew so many actors he wanted, and so it's unlike working with certain directors that we need to really introduce them to a lot of actors, because George has been in the theater and worked with the most phenomenal actors for so long. Yeah. So, with the roles that I brought in, I just wanted to hear how George really saw them. I'm from the South. I'm not that period, but I'm from the South. So I felt like I knew the energy, and it was just invigorating to go back and forth with names and auditions and having the actors read and having George into my office and looking at lots of Dusty Mays, because you could have gone in 1,000 different directions. And I loved the direction he went in. Mm-hmm. So the conversations were just stimulating, smart, about topic and about the South and those days and what it took to become a singer, to be a manager, to perform. Jazz. Oh my God.
Right.
What an age of brilliant jazz.
So brilliant. Wow. I just loved it. Great work, really.
I did too. He did just, yeah. Everyone. Yeah. Thank you.
And I think Viola, won, she won the Image Award just on Saturday.
And I mean, when you see, because what we do, we don't really know the finished product. We don't know what they're going to look like. We don't know. So sitting in my home, as we all have been this past year, and when I saw it, I was just like,
wow.
Because everybody, and I just have to say Chadwick's performance of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Of a lifetime.
Yep.
Acting is so hard, and of a lifetime.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that. So moving on to the assistant. The writer-director, Kitty Green, comes from a documentary background and has the lens through which we see Julia Garner, the assistant, and it has been methodically created. How did you create the realistic framework of the nameless executives and assistants who represent Kitty's vision?
What a trip to work on that film. When I first read it and they said 24 hours in the life of an assistant at the Weinstein Company, but even though we didn't say, we took names out, not originally, but yes. And I had worked with them quite often. I kept wanting someone that you would follow their face, follow their emotion. And this kind of goes for everybody because the dialogue was sparse. So it had to reveal through the body, through the elements that what actors can bring without saying a word. And Julia just nailed it. I think the whole cast kind of just, in my opinion, of course, nailed it because I don't know if one would count the pieces of dialogue in that piece, but it was very, very slight. It was, everybody had to understand their place and bring that place into their roles. I don't know if that makes sense, but even the assistants around Julia, you could see them looking at each other and you could mind read what everybody was thinking. It was a brilliant silent film.
I love that. So how did the script in any way guide your choices?
A lot of people I knew, and I would just introduce them to Kitty.
Mm-hmm.
I think they all read. Maybe not everyone, but I think mostly everyone read. And the one person has said to me in the middle of this pandemic about all of us casting directors, what's the difference not being in a room right now with an actor and having an actor tape? And that was a great experience of having. If actors were in the room, and I try not to give a lot of direction ever, but I would just like, what? Less is more, especially on this one. We had to nail the actors who could deliver performances without a lot of dialogue.
Tracy.
Yes.
One Night in Miami. Wow. First of all, Regina is like family. Love her. And and I know what it's like working with her. So I'm sure it must have been an amazing experience for you.
It was, and just the story was so important. And it was important the moment I read it, and I just really was honored to be a part of it and to find the heart and the truth of all of that. It really was very, very special.
It was. So, it was set in Miami in 1964 in the middle of the civil rights movement. What research, if any, did you have to do before you cast the roles?
Well, always research. We get dropped into a different world every project, which is the beauty of what we get to do, because we do get to learn these new worlds. And I love getting into these subcultures and things, but especially with something that's historic, it's really important. And there's so much available of this time period and of these people that you could spend time with them. And it's really important to spend that time with them and listen to their voices and not even watch them as much as just listen to them and listen to their hearts. And so I felt like truth and reality was the greatest thing that we could bring to that in order to make the story even that much more of what it needed to be.
Which roles were you responsible for, and were you able to find everyone locally?
Well, we kind of, Kim is so wonderful, and we, there were some roles that we sort of went back and forth on, and sometimes it would end up in my world or her world. It was the Wembley people, and there were people from the South and people from all different areas. And while I'm located generally in the South, we have such a deep pool of talent. Yeah. And we have such just a diverse group of talent. And I've been working with this group for a very long time, 20 plus years. And I know a lot of these people. They're like family to me, or they are family to me. And so, and it's expanding. And so that's exciting too. And it's a matter of finding the right person who speaks the words truthfully. And I can never say the word truth enough. So I feel like I was really lucky to be able to do all these different locations, and yet they were pretty much available in our region.
That's great. Yeah, I have so long now in this business, but when I think about the pool in the Southeast and what it was so many years ago, in a struggle, and now it's just, you can really cast your project from,
right.
the great pool of talent.
And it's interesting because I have worked in this region for so long, and a lot of times it was that, well, you know who to go to. And now we still know those people are really super and wonderful, but we have so many more choices. And I think that just gives us many more layers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that and your work. Lucie.
I love it. I love it. Every minute of it.
Me too. I really do love casting.
I love it. It's just the greatest thing in the world to be able to tell somebody that they have a job is so exciting.
That's the best part. I don't know about you guys, but that really is the best part for me.
It is for me too. I have a little candle when I used to be able to do callbacks that we would take. It's a Saints candle for people to get jobs, to encourage everybody to feel good that we're on their team and helping them hopefully get this next job. And so it's exciting.
Yeah, that's true. And then at the same time, on the flip side of that, when we often tell people they don't have it, but when you have to, or it's not going to work out, or if they get the role and something happens, that is heartbreaking for me.
It is.
I shed real tears. It just happened last week. It was horrible. And I'm just finally getting over it, but it really, you get so attached. And I guess it's because we love what we do.
It's a wonderful thing that we do, and we're very fortunate.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. I'll be back to you.
Okay.
Lucie, French Exit. French Exit is a quirky comedy. The scenes with the waiters help to create that tone. What was the most fun thing about casting those roles?
French Exit was like a gift. It was, I stopped working for 5 to 6 months. I lost my husband. It was a tough year. Mm-hmm. And then I had that script on my desk, and I just bought a cat. And I said, I've got to do it. I've got to do it. And I met with Azazel, and it was fantastic. And so, in Montreal, the thing is you go from French to English, and then there's not like a community that stays here. People are traveling. They're going to New York. They're coming to New York from New York, stay here for a while, going to Toronto. So it moves a lot. And if you're lucky, you get such a great pool of actors. And so, especially for those waiters, I could go in the French pool of actors. We, and do Paris and everything. So we had a lot of fun trying all sorts of different things. So it was great.
Awesome.
And it was very good communication with Nicole Arbusto and good communication with Azazel. It's just, sometimes it's magic. Sometimes casting takes such a long time, but sometimes you have to take it. When this one was really like a gift for me. It was a pleasure.
Oh, that's beautiful. The process for casting the children, what was that? Did it require a search of any kind? I know sometimes kids take a little extra time in the audition Zoom room, or what was the case here?
Well, just maybe 2-3 months ahead of that, I had done a search for kids, auditioning just for no project in particular. Sometimes I do that for kids so I can get ahead with when the projects comes in. So I had done this for Anglophone kids and I have done this for French kids. And I had met Eddie Holland, who plays young Malcolm, and he was just perfect for it. He's great style, and he's such a nice little actor. And then, perfect eyes, perfect hair, perfect fit. He came in an audition and he was just, Azazel just fell in love with him and he was just perfect. And especially with the eyes, when you do a transition from one young actor to an older one, it's so important. It's so important because, this has to be flawless. Yeah. It has to be flawless. It has to just move on from a young actor to the lead role. So that was, we did, quite a lot of auditions, but we met him in the beginning and we kept on working with him. And the more we worked with him, the best he was. So.
You said you met him in the beginning?
We met him at the beginning of our casting, and he came in, and then we said, I just did pre-audition. I pre-auditioned a lot of kids, and then I sent tapes, and Zazel says, he's just so perfect looking. I said, I know, and he's a good little actor. So we brought him back when Zazel got here, and that was it. It wasn't some kids you see 1,000. That time it wasn't. Again, the gifting kept. Right.
I find too, though, it's so interesting, not just with kids, but just in casting, how you can see someone at the beginning of the process and love that person, and or we know this is the one, but you have to go through the process, right? But I call it around the mulberry bush, just to wind back up at one, but then, it's the process. This is what I always say too. It's always part of the process. So
it is.
Yeah. Several homeless gentlemen in the film have interesting scenes with Michelle Pfeiffer's character, Francis.
Yeah.
What did you have to take into consideration when you were casting those roles?
The first thing is always a great actor. If he's going to do a scene with Michelle Pfeiffer, needs to be very skilled,
right?
And everything. So that actor actually was from Montreal and left for a while. And while we were doing the search for the homeless and everything, I had some good candidates, but I wasn't 200% sure that I had the best guy. And I just received an email and he said, well, Lucie, this is Chris. I'm back to Montreal. I have a new look. And I look at the picture and he had hair down to ear and a big beard. It was all there. I said, well, welcome back, my friend. There you go. You can come and audition. And that was it. So, but he's a skilled actor and everything. So he could give a good read.
It worked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But the look was there. That is always great.
It was authentic.
Exactly.
Christa, hey.
Hello.
So The Mauritanian is a tough political legal drama with a strong POV. Partially set in Guantanamo, some of the roles you cast must have been actors who had to portray harrowing psychological and sometimes physical scenes. What were the particulars you were looking for in the actors?
Working at this end of the continent of Africa, it's actually quite a small pool. So ultimately you get to know people very well. And for the exciting challenge for me is to kind of go, are you ready for this one? Mm-hmm. So there's a kind of an understanding of what the pool is, where the actor is at, developmentally, perhaps even personally. Are they ready to handle something like this? And then, of course, like all actors, they're hungry, they want to try. I think it didn't worry me too much because I knew we were in such good hands with the director.
Mm.
With Kevin's documentary background, he is so sensitive to nuance and understanding what the camera will see and getting what he needs.
Right.
From little moments that he's so attuned to because of his reality background.
Mm-hmm.
He's very good, and he's just such a lovely man that you automatically feel that you're going to be safe with him. Mm. Which doesn't mean that he's soft.
Right.
He's I remember one young actor who played one of the interrogators, who was excited beyond belief for him. And I was really happy that he got the role because I did feel that he was ready to be pushed. And when he came back to talk to me about his experience on set, he just couldn't get over the fact that in the one really harrowing interrogation scene where I don't know if you know the scene where he pushes the cake into Sly's face.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it was really interesting that Kevin made them do that scene again and again and again and again. He said they lost count how many times they did it until finally there was some sort of breakthrough where everybody was just exhausted and they pushed through that moment. But then, of course, you're in the hands of somebody who knows how to do that.
Right.
And that was very special. And I could see my actors really responding to that, being excited. I mean, you just mentioned words like Jodie Foster and Benedict Cumberbatch, and you're home and dry. Everybody's queuing up to come and be in this movie. So it was really exciting to do such an amazingly well-written script with such heart and such respect for all the people involved. There is a strong POV, but there's very little judgment. There's kind of an understanding of, how we all fit into our own picture. And Kevin was very respectful of that. Spent a lot of time with Slahi in Mauritania. So, came back with this very deep respect for this man and what he'd been through. And of course, his references to Mandela, which resonated with us down here. So that was awesome.
Well, the scenes where, I hope I'm saying this right, Mohamedou,
yes,
is at home in Mauritania. Seems so authentic. So can you describe the process of casting his family and the other Mauritanian characters?
Okay, so I have to be really honest. When I had those first conversations with the local producer, I just said to them, you have to do it there. You just, And given that the man is still alive and that he's still living his life, South Africa is a melting pot of everybody from Africa. Everybody's here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that you're going to find the right actor and create that right scene. And I said, we'll try. Obviously, I'm not going to say that we won't try and find Mauritanians. But I just felt that the way the script was written, those scenes were so key to having a real understanding of his life, his background, and those people. When you think about some of the traditional stuff that was going on, even in the background, I just felt it really had to be the real thing. So after much debate, I don't think I was terribly popular with the producer in South Africa. They did go to Mauritania, and Mamadou himself actually found a lot of those people.
Wow.
So, I can't claim any credit for that, other than stating very firmly that they had to do it there.
Yeah. Well, that's the directing part of casting.
Yeah.
We do it all. Thank you. And congrats. Christi. Hi. So,
hi.
The Croods, A New Age, Trolls World Tour.
Yes.
These films are both sequels. You inherited a lot of talent. What's your process for finding the working voice actors who fill in the rest?
Well, both these movies we worked on all the, I worked on the first one. Trolls, we started casting. Leslie Feldman and I were partners on the first of both of them. And, for Croods, it was such a long time in between that movie for a sequel movie. It has to have someone that, can really paint that picture with their voice, right? Because you have to keep people entertained. I love listening to, you guys are all incredible. And these films that everyone's cast this year. But the difference on my side is, you have to find someone that is a great actor, but can also take themselves out, because they can't, I'm kind of meshing everything together, but those looks and those teeny moments doesn't work for animation. So you got to find someone that's willing to be a little silly and maybe a little bit, out of their comfort zone. I think on Croods particularly, it was really fun. Peter Dinklage I thought he did, I know it's animation, but it's not as easy as people think. You really have to get in there and it's, I thought he did a great job. And, he and Nick Cage across from each other were really fun. Leslie Mann was hilarious. She and Catherine Keener across from each other. It was kind of keeping up with the Joneses, right? A little bit, this original family. And then Kelly Marie Tran with Emma, they were supposed to be good friends. So that was really fun. And Trolls, it's really just finding people, comedy people is what I always try to go for. Someone that has some humor to them, even if they're not a comedian per se, but someone that can, like I said, have a little more, get in there and want to play. And I think that's what most actors we try to look for, that it gives them something else to do. Maybe they have one of your dramatic movies, and then we can come in and say, hey, this isn't something maybe you don't always, this is something maybe you're not doing, but step aside and play, this fun character. And that's usually what people really enjoy, is something for their kids or grandkids or nieces or nephews, and just being able to play and have fun. So that's what we really, really, we're looking for. Comedy, somebody that can just play. And that's usually what actors love about it is something they can play. There's no camera in their face,
Yeah. As you were speaking, I was just thinking of one time I did a voiceover. It wasn't animation, but claymation. And It was Eddie Murphy had a project. I don't know if you remember this, anybody, but it was a short period of, the show I think might have had a couple of seasons, but it was called The PJs. And Eddie voiced the character, but I just remember I had never, really done voiceover, but, they wanted obviously actors. And so what I would have the actors audition, I would have them come into the office, but literally I would turn my back to them and just listen.
Yeah.
Because
That's a meeting. Welcome to DreamWorks Animation. This is everyone literally sitting in the room like this.
Exactly.
Or they put you'll put the art up and everyone, it's a piece of art, and then you cut those are kind of the extra steps in animation, right? I start like you guys start, you read the script or you read what you have, or they pitch it. We all have our first initial ideas of who we would write down, whether it's live action or whatever.
Yeah.
So we do the same thing. And then the extra step is, especially in doing it so long, kind of some of these brilliant actors, it just doesn't work in animation because they're tonally, it doesn't have melody to it, the tonality and through their voice. And if you're walking, it has to have a beat to it. It has to have some air to it. And you have to realize you're walking down the street. And I always kind of pitch it as it's like workshopping a play, kind of, because animation, it takes such a long period of time.
Yeah.
Or like a radio play, Anyway.
Right. That's
the extra step. Extra step of audio and pulling audio, which is a little time consuming, but necessary.
Mm-hmm. You have an incomparable career at DreamWorks, casting an impressive array of beloved animated features. So what are the most important things actors should consider when preparing voiceover auditions for animated features?
I think I'm saying everything in one. I'm giving the scope and all my answers, but yeah. I think it's being ready to come play. You can't be too precious with, you have to be able to be open and ready to, because it is very different. And, we had a big actor one time, and he's like, the thing I love about animation is it's what I always thought acting was. I've done he'd done a lot of movies. And he's like, I so enjoyed myself because I got to play. I really got to play, and I got to try it different ways. And, they'd come in there and say, let's try this. Because then when they go back, those are the things that the takes are obviously the editing, a big part of the editing of the actor's performance. But I think it's really being able to play, going over it a lot of time. You'll go through and variation, the variation of your voice.
Yeah.
I think we've all had an audition where there's someone and you're like, you're missing that beat of that joke. This is where the joke is,
Right. Yeah.
So immediately that's what we're looking for. Somebody that has, it doesn't have to be, like I said, the punchy character necessarily, but you have to be able to have fun and be lighter and have some comedy to it. And there are heartfelt moments, but that's what I'm looking for, is somebody that with a great voice, has some comedy and has some, like any of us, charm, but in their voice.
Their voice, yeah. Right. Well, I hear voices and think, oh, they would be great voice for voiceover. I'm going to send them to you.
Okay, send them. Everybody, send them my way. I need it.
Yes,
I love it. I appreciate it for sure.
Oh, good.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you, Louise. Louise, hey, so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm so sorry I was a bit late. We had a time zone issue because of it's summertime over here, and suddenly nobody knows when Greenwich Mean Time is. So hello, everyone. Nice to see you.
Hello. Good to see you too. Herself and Normal People. A relationship which captures the hearts and minds, like Daisy Edgar Jones and Paul Mescal did, playing Mariana Connell, is very rare. So how and when in the process did you realize how special this match you had made was?
That is a really good question. I think I've spoken about before, and I think it's exactly what the ladies are saying. You dig in and you start your search, right? And if you're lucky, you'll turn up or you'll find somebody who's really perfect really early. And that's what happened with us with Paul, actually. He was just out of drama school and he was very well known to us. He was in the theatre. He'd never done any sort of acting for camera, but he just came in and we just felt really strongly as a group that he was our Connell. And when I say sort of 6 weeks or 4 weeks, it was really fast. And then, of course, we had our Connell and we saw lots and lots of ladies in North America and across the world, and obviously in Ireland for Marianne. And the clock started to tick. You're kind of like, now the time is about to happen and principal photography is going to start. So we were lucky. We worked hard and we saw a lot of people, and eventually Daisy Edgar Jones taped, and we got them into a room really swiftly afterwards. And that day was really special because everybody in the room, you just knew. And Lenny turned and he went, okay, we can make the show. Yeah, let's go.
Oh, yeah, I love that chill. I just got chills as you were saying it. You know, it's like you really do feel it, you know, to see it. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll be completely honest, I watched the show on my own because, of course, we were all in lockdown in Ireland on a Sunday because it came out in the BBC Player over here. And I think it was, I mean, certainly episode 1 was a bit blurry. I watched the whole thing a few times, but by episode 2, I was kind of starting to relax. And that's when you sort of go, okay. And yes, we knew we cast the right people in the roles. And yes, the feedback was really good from the producers. But of course, when you get to watch it yourself on your own in a little quiet space, kind of go, okay, yeah, it's lovely. And they're lovely. And yeah, so it's happy days.
Yes, I know. Yeah, happy days. I have a happy question later on for everybody. So how did you build the cast around them? What was that timeline like? And what was the timeline on herself to cast all of the characters?
Sure. Okay. So with Normal People, because of course the ensemble cast is predominantly young, we drew from a lot of the sort of Marianne's and Connells to create their friendship group initially. So we would sort of long list and then bring people in and sort of match them up together. It was really important to us that we created 2 different worlds, even though they're both sort of inhabited by people who are kind of 18 to 22 years of age, right? So his school and her school at the beginning of the show, it looks insular, it looks like a smaller town, right? And then of course, when we follow him to Dublin, to Trinity, there's a sort of a follow, like he walks and we're behind him and you see Trinity in front of you and it's Dublin and it's cosmopolitan, it's big, it's new, and it should feel scary to him rather than to her. And this world that we populated felt different, should feel different, more current, more diverse, more interesting and full and lovely. So that's kind of what we were looking for. And then of course there was some parents involved as well, and we, you know, ages and stuff, we kind of tried to kind of think outside the box about, you know, who Connell's mum was, for example, and she's an actor in her sort of 30s, but you know, and so we cast young, but we sort of cast young for a reason, to kind of, it's all about sort of finding out who Marianne and Connell are in this world by the people they're surrounded by, or the people who love them, or the people who don't love them, or the people who they become to know, you know. And then herself was a wonderful, also made by Element Pictures. They were both made by the same production company over here in Ireland. Mm-hmm. And herself was a project which was created by Claire Dunn, who's an Irish actor and a wonderful actor and a very clever woman. And she'd done a big theatre job with Philip Deloitte, who is the director, and also, I mean, just an amazing woman and very, very well regarded, both in theatre and film. And so Philida came on board as the director because of her love for Claire and obviously the piece. And then Element came on board. And so we had quite a long run-in time, to be honest. You know, there was a lot of development, a lot of talk, and a number of drafts, which I feel was really lovely because it's an independent film. It was, you know, there was a lot of love involved, and we took our time. And you were speaking earlier about, you know, the hunt for the kids and the search for her daughters in the movie. We had a lot of time, and Claire was very involved in many recalls with 2 girls. And I feel like that was a real benefit, both to the film, of course, because the girls are good, I think, but also, you know, to the relationship that exists between the 3 of them, because they had a lot of time to play in advance of being on set, you know. And again, in the same way, we just sort of took our time and thought about the sort of different, you know, who she would face in the social welfare office, for example, and what people look like in Ireland, you know, and how what faces she's met with. And then of course she meets this group of people who help her build a home, which is a huge crisis in Ireland. You know, we're a small first world country, but there's huge issues around housing. People, you know, we have a huge demand for housing. So this group of people who she hardly knows help her build this house after she's been through some awful domestic abuse and family stuff. And so, yeah, again, just finding, I mean, it's always about the actors though, right? It's always about, you know, them being amazing actors and then just finding the right amazing actors to inhabit, you know, the roles and the journeys that these characters go on. So yeah, kind of similar processes, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you this question, but actually anyone that would like to answer it too, please do. So how does your job on the project continue after casting is complete and production has begun? And when you have cast new actors and this is their first film, do you feel a sense of responsibility to shepherd them through the process?
From listening to everybody, we care about actors. Mm-hmm. I don't offer, but you know, I think some actors that we've all given some of their first jobs to or helped their career know that if they had a question for us or advice, or I'm not sure if I'm answering yours, but I hope actors know that we're there for them, you know, not to overstep.
Certainly to support them in whatever ways and information that we need to, you know, that they might need and that kind of thing. But I think we all are very supportive of actors and want them to do well and do whatever we can to make sure that they have what they need once we have helped them, you know, or been there for them to get their job.
Right.
And have access to us in a way that's helpful.
I mean, in work terms, I suppose the way that I would see it is that we help them in any way that we can through the audition process. And of course, you know, we kind of navigate their journey to the point at which they get on set. But then, of course, that's where the director and the producers and the designers and the writers, and they're then sort of carried, you know, through the piece, aren't they? They're sort of supported in the way. So I mean, I completely agree with the ladies. You know, we are there to support should we be required so. But I think, you know, our part is at the beginning, and then we just watch them fly.
Right.
It's fun to see what happens and hear what they have to say if we have an opportunity to, you know, to talk to them afterwards and hear about their journey, because they're so excited and they have such great stories to tell. Yeah.
I know for me, we want to see them win, right? We put them in those roles and we're the biggest cheerleader, you know, probably, you know, next to a parent or a spouse. So.
Exactly, especially with teens or very young actors. I do feel the responsibility to just follow through. Like I'm doing this series, they're all teenagers and it's very dramatic. So when I confirm them, I tell them, if anything happens, here's my phone number. You give me a call. And mostly they don't, because like you were saying, they have a team then and they're on their way, and it's fantastic. But mainly at the end of the year, I sort of get information of how it went and talk with the directors on a regular basis. And if something arises, then I can get in touch with them. I do feel some kind of, I love them and I want them to be well.
Yeah. I agree. I think, like everyone said, it is kind of our job, and it's also, you know, partly I feel like just making them comfortable is also, I always feel like, you know, when you have that set that relationship up at the beginning, like, I'm here, we brought you in because we want you to get the job. So whatever I can do to help you, or, you know, give you advice or set it up. I mean, I'm a little different because I'm in-house, so I'm talent relations through the whole process and making sure that everybody's, gets taken care of through the whole process, even to the end, to credits and everything. But I think it's just part of being think everybody in casting has that in their heart. They just want those actors to succeed.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. And talent relations is a whole other, it's necessary though. This has been amazing. So I know that we're here for a certain period of time and we could talk for another hour. But just quickly, I'm going to ask each of you, when I said I was going to get to a happy question for everybody, what I call a happy casting moment for you.
I'm just going to say, when you feel like you've done a great job and you're laughing with the director and everyone's happy, it's just fabulous.
Perfect.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Avi.
I'll just say the magic. It's magic when you see it. It's magic when you get to feel it in the room, but it's especially magic when you see it alive and on screen, and it's just exactly or more than you ever thought it could be. I love the magic. And those magical moments and they happen so rarely and so often at the same time. It's like little moments that just all come together and just make you really happy and proud. And I love working with actors.
Yeah, me too.
It's great.
I
And
agree.
Yes.
I do agree. I've had so many happy moments. That's why I keep on this job. That's why I keep on working as a casting director. I love it. Yeah. I love the actors. I love the moment. I love being in a room. And one special moment for me is the first time that they read. And suddenly the whole script comes to life. And it's just, this is magic. And then you can see the film, you can see what's going to happen and everything. And you just, I just get so happy at this moment in a room with the director. Everybody's happy. Mm-hmm. That's a great job.
That's a great moment.
I think, and as an extension of that, actually, my favorite times are the read through. And it's for so many reasons. It's like, there's that sort of magical nervousness in the air, and it's, and I mean, I feel nervous when I'm sitting around, before everybody reads, but it feels like the first day of school. And, and you kind of sit back. Well, I sit back and I kind of, it's just like watching it all there and seeing their little connections and their big connections and the sort of, and feeling that kind of expectation. And they're going to go and they're going to have a great time and sort of going, okay, it's good, it's lovely, and they're great. So so I always love that.
Yeah, I think that's it for me too. I have several, but definitely the table read, when it all comes together and you just kind of sit back and you take that deep breath in and exhale finally, so right. Anyway, thank you, each of you, so much for being here. This was great. I, look forward to seeing you, in a week or two, April 15th. And good luck. And then continue, just blessings for, this new kind of normal that we're all experiencing as we continue to do the thing we love, which is casting. Thank you.